Good morning, everyone. Again, we will start with a short motivations. Um, Try to keep yourself comfortable and keep your back straight. It helps to be more alert, more awake. And feel the weight of your body on cushion, chair. And let your breath flow naturally. And keep your attention to the breath, observing it mindfully. Once your mind has been settled down, then we can try to reflect, contemplate, and feel how fortunate and lucky I am to have this precious human life. Which has incredible potentials if we can utilize it properly. If we can use this human life in a correct way, we can achieve happiness of this life, futures, nirvana, fully enlightenment, and potential to not only achieve happiness for ourselves, but to be able to bring happiness to others. Not only that, we have met the Dharma and met some of greatest qualified masters. So fortunate, incredibly fortunate. It's rare to have all these conditions coming together. Not easy. Even though we have achieved this incredible, precious human life and conditions, this life does not last forever. That life will come to end one day for sure. Anyone who is born in this world have to face the death. And we are no exceptions. Even the most powerful person in the world need to die or have died. Their power couldn't stop them from death. Even the most wealthy persons their wealth couldn't protect them from the death. Even some of the brightest mind, smart, also their smart, bright mind couldn't stop them from encountering the death. Even though most of the enlightened beings, even they experience or go through the death. Therefore, we are no exceptions, and we will also face the death for sure. not only we will face the death one day, we do not know when it might come. So uncertain. Even though we feel it's not going to come for next 40 years, 20 years, 10 years, next 5 years. Definitely not this year. For sure not this week, today. Even though that is how we feel, but that can be very deceptive, mistaken. Because we never know when it's going to come. It can come anytime, any moment, even today. There is no guarantee life is on your side because we are young. Because we see grandchildren or grandchildren dying even before their grandparent or even grandparent. Age does not guarantee because you are young, you are going to have longer life. Being healthy also doesn't guarantee that you will live longer than someone who is not so healthy. Being in a more safe place also doesn't guarantee that you will live more than those who are in more unsafe places. Therefore, feeling that I will not die soon because age is on my side, health is on my side, environment is on my side, that can be totally deceiving. Through such contemplation, try to feel how the death could come anytime. It could come not only in next 5 years, it could come this year, this month, even this week, even today. because life is so fragile. You just fall accidentally. That could be the cause. We might eat something wrong. That can be the cause. We can be bitten by some insect. That can be the cause. We go to bed and never wake up. That can be the cause. So the life being so fragile, that could come anytime. And when the death comes, what really matters and help us at that moment, and beyond that in the futures, is our Dharma practice. Nothing else. Even we are being surrounded by loving families, friends, in that moment, there's nothing they can help. There's nothing they can do much. Even that time, even the doctors are unable to do much. No matter how much wealth we have in that moment, is no benefit, no help. Cannot make your mind more peaceful because you have wealth at that moment. Cannot save the life. Nor we can take any penny from there and be helped in the future. We leave everything behind, all the family, friends, wealth, fame, everything behind. And move to the next stage, empty hand. The only thing that we can carry is our Dharma practice, our virtues, the imprint, positive imprints. That could help at the time of death. To have more peaceful, more calm. And that could help after the death. Therefore, I should try to find more time, effort to commit myself towards the Dhamma practice. Therefore, I need to dedicate myself for more Dharma practice, not only for my own peace and joy and happiness, but also to help others to free from their pain and sufferings. And to help them to achieve inner peace, lasting inner peace, joy and happiness. Not only I need to practice the Dharma, I need to practice the Mahayana Dharma, the Bodhisattva's path. In order to practice correctly, continuously, I need to be reminded of those practices, as well as need to continue to study, learn, listen, read, and so forth. Therefore, I'm going to listen to the talk. And not only listening, but again, if there's anything that we find helpful, then trying to take it and integrate and apply as much as possible in our everyday life. By all of us coming here together to listen, to engage in discussions, reflecting, contemplating on the meanings, may all of this become cause and conditions to achieve our highest potential, the fully awakened state. So that we can be not only help and benefit, but greatest help and benefit. and not only to few, but to each and every sentient beings. Without any limitations. According to the need of each and individual sentient beings. Okay. Then we can do that if you...
Okay, please refer to page 98 on the red prayer box. At the bottom, refuge and bodhicitta before the teaching. We'll do this 3 times in Tibetan.
Ge cho dan so ge cho nam la chang chu pa do dan ne gyab so je da ge chu nyen gi be so nam ge do la pen je sang ge do ba sho sang ge cho dan so ge cho nam la chang chu pa do dan ne gyab so je da ge chu she gi be so nam ge Rola penje sangye dubash Ge che dan so ge cho nam la Changju padu dane kya su che Da ge che che ge be so nam ge Rola penje sangye dubash So today's topic of the discussion talk is how to face death without fear. Yeah, can you hear back? Yeah. Well, I want to learn also that myself. So maybe you have some tips to me. As we have talked before, we have a lot of fear in our life with different things. And again, we talk, a lot of those fears are related with attachments. And same things, because we're attached to our life, so there is a fear of losing it. And because we're attached to our loved ones, also there's a fear of losing them. There is one reason why we have fear with the death of ourselves or the death of those loved ones because of attachments. It's related because of the attachments, fear arising due to that. There is that part definitely. Also, sometimes we have fear of something that we are not familiar with. If you don't know familiar and you have to do for the first time that you are not used to, you become nervous and fearful. Whereas when you are familiar with that, whatever that is, when you are familiar with that, you have less fear. So again, one of the reasons, again, we have fear is because we don't know so much about that. what happens at the time of death, what happens after the death, what is the death about, and how to handle it, how to handle in terms of our own death, how to handle death of our loved ones, near ones. When we have less knowledge, less awareness of them, then again there is more fear, nervous, all of that. Whereas when we have more understanding of that, then we are able to handle better with less fear. And so that is why it's important to study and learn about the death. What death means, what happens at the time of death, what happens possibly after the death. The more aware, the more knowledge you have, the more you have, the less fear because of knowing the subjects better. Also, one of the reasons why we have fear is we relate death with something, with a lot of time we relate death with more painful struggles. But again, understanding death doesn't have to be painful, doesn't have to be struggles. Death can be peaceful. Having that understanding also can help us to be less fearful. Sometimes when think of death, it feels like it's going to be horrible, a lot of pain, a lot of struggles. That kind of informations in our mind can make us fearful. But also to be aware and realize death doesn't have to be painful all the time. It can be very calm, peaceful, good. And in that cases, if you have observed some of such someone's death in that way, you have read about it, heard about it, and again having those information in your mind, Mm. Yeah, I have observed, some practitioners as well as some of my own family relatives who have passed very peacefully, And I'm sure that you have also seen, of course, probably some, you might have seen some who have more struggles and pain, and others who have passed peacefully, And so to have that image in your mind can be helpful, that image of the peaceful death instead of that painful image of the death. A lot of time, our mind seems to hold on those negative more strongly. That is how our mind works. So in our mind, naturally, we have this image of the horrible one, painful one. Peaceful one, probably we forget very easily. And sometimes I think to remind ourselves about those peaceful ones can be helpful, to refresh our memory of that. So that memory, that image is also there, instead of totally being forgotten that when only the memory image that you have in your mind is the struggle, the pain one. And so, and to able to keep those positive memory image, we have to, because our mind naturally doesn't hold on those so strongly. So we have to try, make more effort in reviving those memories, keeping those memories, so that we have more balance, at least, not only the negative memories, not only the bad and negative ones. So that is one thing. The reason why some people are fearful is because of that. One of the reasons for some people be fearful of death is because they have seen, they have heard, or they imagine that it's going to be painful, horrible, and therefore they have more fear of that. Um, that is one. Another reason that we might have fear is about the futures. Some people after death, what happens after death? Sudden, those who believe in permanent hell and permanent heaven, they are fearful they might go to hell permanently there. That can be fearful. That can be fearful. Because your fear, you might be permanently in the hell realms. For some, we Buddhists, we don't believe in permanent hell and heaven like that. We believe in reincarnations and 6 realms and that. But again, for some, we might be fearful of being born in the lower realms, even though it's not same permanent that, but still the fear of maybe I might be born in the lower realms. That can be one, being fearful of death. For non-believers, who believe after this life there's nothing, it still they can be fearful because it is permanently, you are becoming no one, nothing. You are permanently that, there's no continuity. So then you are gone, are permanently gone. You become nothing, one, and this idea that you will never be able to see the loved ones, and you will never have the opportunity to see them because after that there's nothing. Again, that can be fearful when you think you will be permanently not being able to reconnect, re-see in the futures at all from your loved ones, near ones who you love so much, or so attached, so strongly attached you are, So again, those are some of the also reason for fears, what happens after death. regardless of what you believe in, not believe in, still there is a fear of the futures after the death. So those are some of the, some of the reasons why we have those fears related with that, related with. Mm. And there can be two kinds of fear, unhealthy fear, useless, unhealthy fear, and maybe you can say healthy or useful fear. Okay? This unhealthy, useless fear is ordinary fear that everyone's have. Ordinary people have fear of death. That kind of fear, the fear of death itself, is useless and meaningless, unhealthy. Because you cannot do anything about it. You cannot stop the death. You can be fearful all your life. You can be fearful all your life, not wanting to die. That cannot stop you from not dying. So that fear doesn't serve anything. It didn't stop you from dying and your fear of dying. That is what the fear is, the fear of dying. But you can have that fear all your life and very strong, but that cannot stop you from death. So what did it serve? It didn't serve anything. It only make you experience pain, sufferings because of that fear. But there is a more healthy, positive, useful fear is the fear of dying without making your life meaningful. The fear of dying without making your life meaningful. That kind of fear can be healthy, useful, beneficial. Because of that fear, then you started to make your life more meaningful, more beneficial. You can do that. You can try to make your life more meaningful, more beneficial through practicing the Dharma, through being more helpful, more kind, more compassionate, by engaging in more healthy, wholesome actions, refraining from more unwholesome actions. Through engaging that, the fear kind of fear help you to drive in that direction. And by engaging that, then by the end of your life, you are able to make your life more beneficial, more meaningful. And that fear has helped you. So in that case, such fear is not too bad. Can be helpful. The other fear, ordinary fear of not wanting to die, that is useless because that cannot stop you from dying. Even you have, it doesn't help you from not dying. And if we talk in other examples, the fear of sick, fear of dying can stop some people from misusing substance, such as drinking too much, smoking too much, using different kind of drugs, substance, Sometimes when they have, either they see their friend experience so much pain by having used that and dying, they don't want to do that. They don't want to be in that state. Sometimes the doctor told them, if you don't stop that, you are going to die. You would not have that. For some people, that fear of dying so quickly, that helped them to stop from, misusing those substances. And that helped them with their have better health and to live longer, for example. So that fear was helpful for them because there was something they did to change it, and they were able to change to something good. The same similarly, that is where the fear of dying by not being able to use your life meaningful way, beneficial way, that fear can help us to drive our direction to make our life more meaningful, more virtuous, more, and so that in that sense is helpful. Of course, to drive in that, you don't have to have fear all the time. If you can drive that without the fear, is better, isn't it? To stop misusing those substances, you don't have to go through fear. From the very beginning, you recognize it's not something good, it's not good for your health, it's not healthy, and you stop it and not engage in that. But for some people, already engaged, and until they have that fear, they cannot stop. Do you get it? For some people, until they have that fear, no matter what, they are unable to stop it. And sometimes even in practice, if we can be encouraged to practice the Dharma, if we can be inspired and encouraged to be better persons, more kind, compassion, and to engage more wholesome actions, by not having fear is even better. If the whole purpose. But sometimes for some of us, unless we think of that fear, sometimes it doesn't give you, that kind of same inspirations or same kind of driving. So then, meditating on the suffering of lower I am and so forth, then that fear can help to some. But if you can, by not meditating on that, if it can help us to refrain from engaging in unwholesome, non-virtuous actions, and to practice Dharma, we don't have to have those kind of fear. It's not like kind of you must meditate on that. But for some, until you meditate and until you have fear, it's hard. Just by thinking or meditating on the benefit of the positive karma, the benefit of the practice, or just by thinking that sometimes for certain individuals, it doesn't give them as strong inspiration, as strong, motivations. But then that fear does give them that motivations. So in that, yeah, so that is why we talk about why we might have different fears related to the death, coming from different understanding situations, different memories, different feelings about different things. Due to that, then the fear arises in relation to the death. And in relation to the death, in terms of the fear, then there is this ordinary fear. Especially at the time of death, the ordinary fear, there's a lot of fear because you are confused at the time of death. If you don't know much about the death, you are confused. You don't know what is happening. Your body is bodily elements are dissolving, getting out of balance. Due to your bodily element dissolving, getting out of balance, things are not working, things are getting out of control, and you don't know what is happening. And that can be very fearful. That can be very fearful. Because things are happening, your body is collapsing, and things are happening because of those bodily elements are dissolving and getting out of balance, so they are not same like before. But you don't know why it is happening. You don't know why it is happening. You don't know what is happening. And so that not knowing and that in that confusion state can make much more fearful when you are in that state. Whereas if we have studied, learned, and know that, oh, that is what is happening, This bodily earth element dissolving, that is why I'm seeing physically in my mind, that's why I'm having these visions. Oh, and you realize, next, the water element will dissolve and it will happen like that. So you already know what is going to happen to some degree. So you are not totally taken by shock, surprise. You know what might happen in terms of your body, in terms of vision, your mind. And so you are more prepared. You are less lost, less confused. And so therefore you are able to handle that better. And same thing, then as, fire element, the bodily fire element dissolve, then again, what kind of physical reaction or signs and mental signs that you have in the vision or signs. And then as wind element dissolve and so on. So that you are, because you are more aware of that, you are less confused, you are less lost, and you are able to follow what is happening. And so when you are able to follow what is happening, you know what is happening, you are less fearful, you are more prepared, your mind can be more calm, peaceful. And so that is studying those can be helpful, beneficial. Not only studying, but actually meditating and being familiar with. We can study, we learn it, and after some time we forgot everything. Then at the time of death, you don't remember. And then you could be still confused and not knowing what is happening because you don't remember. Because we are not familiar with that. Even though we have studied it one time, but it's, it's not fresh in our mind. It's something that, so that is why the lamas, the meditators, they meditate that every day. As His Holiness says, he meditates on that 6 times a day. Because he does different sadhanas, and with each sadhanas, there is all this process of death, dissolutions, and all of that, So, so because of that, I think His Holiness once, if I remember in one, I don't know, teaching or interview, he says he has been training and he's looking forward, in a way, at that time. And so that is what highly developed practitioners, they are not fearful, but they can even have joyful, looking forward to it. Even looking forward to it. And Milarepa said, frightened by the death, I run away in the mountains. Having meditated on the uncertainty of the death, now I've realized the deathless state of innate nature, which is the nature of the mind, the innate, non-inherent, the innate nature, non-inherent existence, the nature of the mind. Having realized that, now I have no fear of death. So one can reach from being fearful to fearless. One can reach state from being fearful of death to the fearless of death. And that comes because of confidence in the practice. Through the practice and confidence is that. And that is why, if we have a strong practice, of course there are many different forms of practice. Whatever form of practice that one's connect and one engage in, if you have some form of strong practice, and if you have confidence in your practice, then you have less fear. Less fear. Then you don't have to worry and be fearful of what might happen in the futures. Because you have done practice and you have confidence in that practice. And so therefore you have created cause and condition to have a better rebirth than going the lower rebirth. So instead of fear, you might look forward. Because your body is getting old, weak, and now you are confident you can have better, higher rebirth in a more, younger, healthy body. As some of the masters says, for the more advanced practitioners or those who have strong practice and who have more confidence in their practice, they look forward and joyfulness because it's like they feel like it's changing the body from old body to new body. Your body, which has become old and weak and cannot function so well as it used to be able to function, now you have the opportunity to get a new, young, healthy body. So if you have a worn out cloth, okay, and if someone wants to exchange new one, wouldn't you be so excited? And if someone says, give me that old worn one, take this new one, you will be so happy. Thank you for your generosity, your kindness. Similar feelings can arise for the practitioners if someone has practiced and prepared well, and then they have confidence in that. And so they have no fear of death, no fear of what happens after the death. And to that, then definitely, it's important to build strong practice. Whether it's related with the, daily practice, whether it's a lumbering practice, whether it's a very simple practice, of, reciting the mantras and practice related to that, So again, as long as you have one strong practice that you are very familiar with, it's important to build that practice, When you have one practice that you are very, strong about it, then you can also have more confidence because you know that practice very well, regardless of what form of practice. Mm. And if we have a strong practice, whatever form of practice, at the time of death, even when our body is weak, our mind is weak, if someone can help you to remind of your practice, trying to help guide or remind you, you can do the practice even with that weak mind because it doesn't require a lot of effort. It doesn't require a lot of effort because it's something that you have been doing all the time, so it's come easily. Whereas someone who has not done practice, at the time of death, you try to guide them practice, it will be very difficult. One, they are not used to that practice, they have not practices, it's a new. And then secondly, your mind and body is not so strong at that moment, it's weak. And so therefore, that is why I say, no, we need some practice, strong practice, that you are so used to that practice that it doesn't require much effort. And if it doesn't require much effort, even when you are physically, mentally weak, you can still continue to do that because it doesn't require much effort. You are able to do that. And if you are unable sometimes to remember that, someone can remind you to remember that, and again, you will do that. And if we can die with that kind of practice, whatever form of practice, then, you don't have to worry about the futures. You don't have to worry about the futures. You don't have to worry whether you will find the lamas or monks to do prayer at the time of death or not. You don't have to worry about that. You have taken care of yourself. You don't have to worry what might happen in the futures. And you don't have to worry where you might take rebirth. You don't have to worry whether you will be able to find a monk or lama at the time of death, Uh, yeah, some years ago, couple of years ago, my father passed away, and he passed away while they were on the way to hospital, and then while he was when they were driving to the hospital, while he was reciting mantras, and I don't know what he was visualizing or thinking or in his mind, we don't know, but definitely he was doing his mantra and prayers and that while they were driving there. And then he passed away in that moment, even in the car while he was doing that. So anyway, I went to see, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, as well as Tisu Rinpoche, who was also in Gopane at that time. So I went to see them make offering and request their prayers, and then they ask me what happened, and then I explain them. And Rinpoche said, Lama Sopa Rinpoche said, he doesn't need my prayer. It seems like he has prepared himself. He was prepared himself. He doesn't need my prayers. When I went to see Chizu Rinpoche says similar. He mentions, this is how we want to die. He said, we pray to be able to die while we are doing practice. That is something we dedicate. We pray to be able to die while we are in practice. It seems like he died while he was doing his practice. And so therefore, you don't have to worry at all, on that. And so that is, when you have whatever form of practice, and when you are able to die with that kind of practice at the time of death, whether with the faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, whether it's a faith in your guru, or faith in the deities, and doing the practice, you don't have to worry. And of course, if we die with the loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, even better. Even better. The Katamba masters, says the guarantee power is the bodhicitta mind. Okay? The other power, not so guarantee. It depends on the teachers, their realizations. It depends on the karmic connections. So many conditions, so many cause conditions have to come together. But when you have both, when you are able to die with the, loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, absolutely. And His Holiness Dalai Lama also mentioned quite a few times. He said, if you can die with the bodhicitta mind, absolutely there's nothing to worry about, for sure that you will have a better. Also, what I found is if we have a strong practice, the practice again can be different form, Some practitioners, they can do more advanced practice. For some practitioners, maybe they cannot do some of the very advanced practice. Maybe they might be able to do more simple practice, But regardless of what, if you have some strong practice, it's important where you are so familiar. One thing I noticed is, also why I said that is some people who have dementia, and whose immediate memories is not good, They lose their memories, They ask one and you already answered. After 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they will ask same questions because they don't remember. So there is that issue with the memory, with the dementia. But also what I've noticed with some others, practitioners who have dementia, while they don't remember immediate kind of memory, but they remember the practice. Because that is something they have done so much and is so strongly ingrained, so they seem to have more easy access to that, Some, at least one monk who have dementia, and again, because of that, sometimes He doesn't recognize people clearly. Sometimes he recognizes, sometimes doesn't recognize clearly. Sometimes he will ask who you are, even though he is someone he knows for a long time. Sometimes seems to recognize, sometimes having, and then immediate memories, same questions again and like that. But when you talk about Dharma, about philosophy, you wouldn't notice that he has dementia. You wouldn't know that he has a dementia when you talk about the philosophy and some of the points and all of that, And so that is what I because one time one student asked, then what happens when we have dementia? And I said, if you have strong practice so ingrained in your mind, even in that cases, you seem to have access to that informations, and you can. So anyway, so yeah. So having a strong practice become important, I feel, you know. My parents didn't have a strong practice. Didn't have a very advanced practice because they never went to schools. They didn't have the opportunity to go to school, so they don't know how to read, write, you know. So then it's hard to study more, accept difficult or more profound concepts and then practice related with that. But they had a strong faith and they have a more simple practices, with the deities, visualizations, prayers, mantras, and others, accumulating merit, purifying, those kind of practice related with that, But they were very strong and very devoted, strong all the time. I sleep until 5. My father used to get 3:30, 4 in the morning, and he would start doing his practice. And all this he memorized. My father, at least he learned to read it. He cannot read very well, but ESS is essential. Buddhis, Buddhist, like that, in Tibetan. So he can read barely in that way, but with that he memorized most of his prayer and that. My mom even didn't know how to read that way. So when we go to home, she will ask us to say one line, and she will repeat many times, and then she will try to memorize. Later, she will record and she will listen again and again. So both of them memorized all the prayer they did by their heart, all the prayers, that. And so, and the whole day, any empty time, they were always doing mantras, prayers all the time. So even though it's kind of simple practice, but they have a very strong, simple practice. And that practice was very strongly ingrained in them. And because of that, those practice came very easily for them in difficult times. Something happened that comes easily. Sometimes they can come even when you are, when you are sleeping. My brother was saying, when my father was in a hospital, that was before he passed away, he wake up and my father was reciting, he was asleep, but he was reciting some kind of prayer or mantra. So I think that, and I've seen another monk, when we were traveling, we shared same room, you know. Then I heard some kind of whispering or something. And then I wake up and then he was reciting some mantras. And then I look at him, he was asleep. You know, so like that, even it's a simple, but it's very strong ingrained. And so that, whatever practice, to have a strong practice seems to be very important. Um, that practice that has embedded or ingrained in yourself, it becomes so easy, and that it becomes so easy, it comes more, you know, naturally without, every time something happens, it just comes, it just comes. And so therefore, even you have some kind of accident, still even that moment, it can come, you know. And I saw one interview, or even I asked some of them when they had a bad earthquake in Nepal, 2015, and what when they realized this earth, what came in their mind, what, us and, some of them, the refuge, that was immediate kind of, that came in their mind. Some, it was their guru or Buddhas, So that, if you can, even something like that happen, you die with that kind of the refuge in your mind, or remember Buddha, then again, And that happened because it's so ingrained. That happened ingrained when something happened, that just come. You are not trying to focus, you are trying to visualize, that you are trying to meditate, but it just comes naturally. And if it happens, then again, and that comes because of that strong ingrained, so strongly ingrained, embedded. So that, of course, if it's something like bodhicitta, then loving kindness, compassion, even better, But again, even any practice. So that is one, when you have a strong practice that you have ingrained in yourself, whatever that practice is, then at the time of death, you will be able to do yourself, or someone can remind you, guide you, and by being able to do that, your practice, you can keep your mind calm, peaceful, instead of being, fearful and all other different thoughts that could arise at that time. To be able to keep your practice. When you are able to do your practice, when you are able to keep your mind in that practice, then all other thoughts kind of dissolve, by being able to keep that. And then the future, you don't have to worry about that, What happens in the future, if you are, at that time, you are able to die with that practice, you don't have to be fearful, worry about that. And that is, is all about creating cause and conditions, Everything is about creating cause and conditions. And when you practice that, in that moment, you have created the cause and conditions to have a better future. Whether you worry, not worry, it doesn't matter. whether you have created a cause and condition, whether you have created the right cause and condition or not. And by engaging in virtuous thought, by engaging in positive thoughts, at the time of that, you have created that cause and conditions to have a better future, better life. So therefore, again, then you don't have to be fearful and worry about that. And to have that kind of confidence, of course, you will need to have some understanding of karma, cause and conditions, you know. And if you have some understanding of karma, cause and conditions, then you know if you create a virtuous cause and condition, the result is better. And so with that, then you can have confidence in that, the result of such practice. And so therefore, that is so if we create the cause and condition, then you don't have to be so fearful and worried, and that is how we can overcome fearful and worry, and then, of course, there are many different meditations, One of the meditations is you kind of imagine and visualize, dying. You are in the bed in your last moment of the life, surrounded by loved ones, and you can see in the face from your loved one, there's nothing even though they have given hope, even though they try not to show it, but you can see from their expression of fear, the doctors have given hope, everything's, and now is your last stages, and how you feel about it. Imagine that, let whatever feelings come arise, emotion arise in that moment. You don't try to create, but you just imagine you are in that bed in that moment and just allow, whatever feeling it could arise, whatever emotion it could arise. Maybe you feel I'm not ready, feeling of not ready, feeling of regret, feeling of guilt, feeling of bitter, different feelings, emotion could arise, attachments, all. And then when you recognize that, then you recognize, oh, I have this issue, this feeling, this regret. And so you try to deal with it now, because you still have time to deal with that. If you regret or something, you can try to change it. If you regret that you have not forgiven someone, you can try to forgive now. You have time to forgive now. If you feel something unaccomplished, unsettled, you have time to settle it now, and you can try to settle it down so that in the futures, if the death comes next week, next month, next year, then you don't have to go through that same fears, that same feelings, unsettled, because you have settled that there's something that you are feeling unsettled. Something you need to forgive, you forgive. Something you need to forgive yourself or others, you try to do now to forgive. If there's some kind of feeling bitter, you recognize that, and then you try to fix that. So that kind of meditation can be helpful to get into our mind what different feeling that could arise and bother us in that moment, and so that we get to know now, and then we can work with that now, so that when it actually happens, it doesn't arise and bother that, and because you have solved that, and so that kind of meditation can be helpful, And then, of course, there is a meditation on dissolutions, the 8 dissolutions, and with each of 8 dissolutions, the external sign, internal signs, being aware of that, and being familiar with that can be also helpful to have less fear, less worry at the time of death. And not only have less fear and worry, but to be able to use your mind at the time of death in your practice. And hopefully, maybe if we can use the clear light mind in meditation in that point, that will be even incredibly wonderful. But even we are unable to utilize that mind, at least, being familiar and aware of that, at least we are less confused, less lost, and our mind can settle it down more and more peace and more fear, less fear. Mm. Mm. And in the Kadamba's teachings, integrating all the practices in one lifetime. So the heart instruction, the pit or heart instructions in the brief is to, throughout the day, weeks, months, and throughout the life, we try to integrate the practice of 5 powers. And if we can do that, then, the power of intentions, setting up the bodhisattva intention every day when you wake up, Yeah, every day when we wake up, we set up, throughout the life until we achieve enlightenment, especially throughout this life, this year, this month, this week, especially these 24 hours, I will try all my best, I will do all my best not to allow myself to be overcarried by the selfish attitude and self-centeredness. Instead, I will try to engage in the practice of two bodhicitta, the conventional ultimate bodhicitta as much as possible. I will try my best to be more, to practice more kindness, compassion, bodhicitta as much as possible. So we try to generate that intention, start with that intentions, set up the day with that intentions. And then throughout the day, we try to be more mindful as much as possible. And more mindful, and whenever we notice, any bad things happening, any obstacles, any challenges, any problems, any pain, sufferings, as well as any afflictive emotions arising, disturbing mind arising. When you notice that, immediately recognize that, oh, I'm experiencing these disturbing negative emotions, fear, worries, anger, attachments, jealousy, whatever those different emotions we might be encountering, or whatever different obstacles, pain we might be encountering. Notice that and then say, oh, I'm experiencing all this because of that selfish attitude and self-centeredness. We learn, instead of trying to point finger to somewhere there outside, we learn to point the finger to that selfish attitude and self-centeredness. Primarily, root is that. The external is only temporary conditions. If we don't have that, if it wasn't that selfish attitude, grasping ignorance, even with temporary condition, it wouldn't be that. It wouldn't lead to that. So we learn all the time. Every time something bad happens, something goes wrong, oh, it's because of that selfish attitude, because of self-centeredness. You connect that with your selfish attitude, self-centeredness, every time, all the time. Slowly, then our mind get used to it, and that kind of way of thinking, then every time something bad happen, instead of pointing finger to someone somewhere, we will always, oh, it's due to selfish attitude, self-centeredness. At the moment, something happens, the first is to point finger outside. And so that is, and then throughout the day, the power of familiarity, familiarity, then you try to practice, bodhicitta, tonglen, all the time. When something bad happens, recognize that. And I'm the not only one who is experiencing that. There are so many others who are experiencing like me, even worse than me. May all their suffering and cause of suffering ripen on myself. May I be able to experience on behalf of them, so no one have to experience that. So you try to do the tonglen throughout the day as much as possible, especially when you are encountering anything, good or bad. When good things happens, recognize that, oh, today I'm experiencing joyful happiness, or I'm having a good health. Whatever good things that you can see, recognize that, and then with that understanding, you see there are so many people who doesn't have as good condition as me. Okay? Don't feel guilty about that. There is one thing. Not feeling guilty, but being aware that there are so many things who doesn't have same good health like me, or good situation like me. And then you do tonglen, send all that your goodness, all your virtues, all the positive qualities, so that they can have good health like me, so they can have good condition like me. So wish everyone and do the tonglen. So then that way, throughout the day, we try to apply the tonglen as much as possible. And that practice of tonglen is part of the practice of the bodhicitta. So you get familiar with that bodhicitta through the practice of tonglen throughout the day. And then, when we get opportunity, try to create, merit, cause, virtues as much as possible. Try to create merit in order to develop the bodhicitta mind. In order for the bodhicitta mind to arise or be generated and to increase and develop, we need the conducive condition to support that. And the merit is a part of conducive condition that support those practice. So we try to create as much merit as possible so that can support our practice of the bodhicitta, the true bodhicitta. So that is the power of the white seed, And then the power of the prayers, and then at the end of the day, in the evenings, we try to look back, reflect on today. This morning, I try to generate good intention, how the day went. Has it been good as I intended, or has it been not so, it didn't go as well as I intended this morning? If we see the day didn't go so well as we intended to, because we lost our mind and we were not kind, we're a little bit harsh, engage some unwholesome actions, recognize that, acknowledge that, and then, regret, and then, do the purifications. Try to do the purifications, And if we see the days have gone quite well, as we intended, we are not unkind, we were able to have been quite well throughout that, then you rejoice in that, and make strong determinations to continue to practice, continue tomorrow, even more strongly, next week, next month, throughout the life, and until we achieve enlightenment. And then we dedicate all the virtues, whatever positive karma virtues that we have created in 3 times, especially during the day, to generate the two bodhicitta mind for those not generated, and to improve and increase, not to diminish, but increase and improve to those who have already generated, so dedicate and pray to cultivate and improve the bodhicitta mind, and then to achieve the fully enlightenment, and then lead every sentient being to that fully enlightened state. So then, that kind of practice we'll try to do, and if you try to do that every day as much as you can, then, over the time, you will be more used to that practice, and then slowly it requires less and less effort, because it becomes more and more natural, and then, it gets ingrained and embedded in you, and when it gets ingrained and embedded in you, then such thoughts come very easily. At the time of death, if some negative thoughts comes, if some negative emotion arises, or you can, instead of being upset with someone, you are able to see, oh, this is selfish attitude, selfish attitude, self-centeredness manifesting in that form, in that emotions, in that. So then there is no reason to be bitter and angry with someone. And then it doesn't give sense of anger and bitter to others, and then, it gives you the space to feel compassion for others. If you have bitter feeling, angry with someone, then there's no space to feel compassion for that, And so then, even at that time, it becomes easy. And then by doing that practice, throughout the life, you will be more happy, Your life will be more happy in terms of whatever the physical conditions, external conditions, but on mental level, on emotional mental level, you will find more calm, more peacefulness, more sense of satisfaction, joy, and happiness. So your life will be more joyful, more happy. At the time of death, you will have more peaceful death. And then after death, you will have a better, higher, better life and better experience. And so therefore, and so that is the key. That is the key, that's the key to encounter or face death without fear or with less fear, And also another practice that we already talked before is, understanding that is natural, okay? It's a natural, and accepting it, you know, is not something that is happening that shouldn't happen. Do you get it? Sometimes we feel that way. It shouldn't happen to me or my family. Why is it happening to me? It's not something happening to you that it shouldn't happen. The nature of that is it come to end. That is the nature of life. That's the nature of all these conditioned phenomena. Even the planet that we live in will come to end at one time, at certain times. All the plants that is in this world will also come to end. So all the life, not only yourself, your family, everyone we are here within next 100 years, we all are gone. Everyone who came before us 100 years ago, they all are gone. So it is not something that is happening to your families, it's happening to yourself. That shouldn't happen, but it's just a natural process of birth and death, coming into existing and then decaying. So with that understanding, if we can have that awareness all the time, then you wouldn't have such a upset and angry when things happens in that way, and nor you will be so fearful of that. Because mentally you are prepared, mentally you are aware. Mentally you are more prepared and more aware, and because of that, it becomes less fearful. When your mind is not prepared, then it becomes more fearful. Okay? So then I will open for some questions. Anyone has any questions?
Okay, I have this question is regarding the four elements that we dissolve. So how long does this happen? Is it over days or weeks or in the seconds? And another question is, can you explain more on the POA?
Okay. Thank you. Dissolutions, I don't think, like in the internal signs, I think it happens to everyone. Sometimes it can happen slowly, sometimes it can happen very quick. Like in accident, then those visions that you go through, all the internal visions, such as the vision of mirrors, smokes, the fireflies, the light, like almost littering to go, and white appearance, red appearance, dark appearance, all of them, one go through that, but maybe in a very quick flash, And then when someone is dying, but, they might, before, maybe let's say, they have some illness and then they die within a very short period, Not a quick like accident, but it could be few hours, or a few days. But when someone is dying very naturally, then it could, it could start maybe in few days before, or few days. So I don't think it is the when it starts is not same. It depends on what kind of death you have, how fast you die. So it depends all of that. And of course, in some, like when you have extend something and quick death, you don't have much of the external signs, even though there is a dissolution of the the element, but in terms of the external sign, there is not much of that because it happens so quickly, so it is hard to observe, in that. So yeah, so that is all I can share. Poa is a concept of transferring the consciousness to the Pure Land. I think the real Poa, the way my understanding, okay, I could be totally wrong, so you have to ask others, okay? My understanding, real Poa happens, you actually practice yourself. You practice Poa, at the time of then you do Poa yourself, or the teachers help you to guide. In something practice you have done all the time, and then the teachers guide, because sometimes the time of death, as I said before, sometimes we are weak, our mind is weak, our mind is not clear, so without someone's help, maybe you might not be able to do yourself. So the teachers or someone can say, now do this, visualize this, do this. And so you try to follow that practice that you have been able to do, and then through that, I think that is how you transfer into that. Someone doing Poa, I think, is not easy. My studies and my, what you call skeptical mind and radical minds thinks if it's so easy for someone to do Poa for anyone, we all wouldn't be here. Buddha Shakyamuni, who is the most enlightened being, he is the one. Either he doesn't have compassion, or he doesn't know how to do it, doesn't have the power to do it. But Buddha Shakyamuni is the most compassionate, so he has compassion for that. And if he can do that, he would have done all of us. We wouldn't be all here. So that shows that it is not like something that anyone can do to anyone just, and then they just lead to Pure Land so easily like that. I think there need to be many conditions that need to come together. The level of the teachers who does the Poa, the karmic connections, and many others also factors. And when all these factors are there, and then through that, then in some cases, I think it is possible someone else doing Poa for someone. But I think the main one is actually to by yourself. I think that is the main one. So that is the normal, and of course there are many Poas, in relation to different deities, Amitabhas, Vasayoginis, Maitreyas, all different deities, in relation to different deities, there are different Poa practice. So that is general in Poa, that practice part of, Vajrayana practice, But in Sutra practice, the Kadamba master, as I said, the four is the five power at the time of death, the practice of five power at the time of death that you find in the Lojongs, and so that, yeah. So anyway, that is all I can share. Yeah. Yes.
So, hi Geshe, I have two questions. The first is on, after the air element dissolves, it is said that the 88 superstition at the white
Appearance.
white appearance, yes, sorry. The white appearance, what do these 88 superstitions refer to? And the second question is on how does Pure Land, Amitabha Pure Land exist? does it exist like Singapore? Like something like it's conventionally like there's a place called Amitabha Pure Land, or does it exist more like within ourselves, like we are content, there's a happy mind? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think Amitabha Pure is like Singapore, but 10 times better clean, 10 times better. No, yeah, it is. I think, even in the scriptures, the Pure Land scriptures, they do describe as though there is, such place. Okay. But it is a physical place or not a physical place. And even though in some scriptures they explain as it is a physical place, they describe about, descriptions of Mount Meru, and then on top of Mount Meru, the different god realms, and then, in terms of materials, pure lands, then a little bit above from that. So even though there is some descriptions of that, but I think I'm not sure whether it is physical world or not. His Holiness Dalai Lama says, he doesn't know whether there is a actually physical Mount Meru, So if there is no physical Mount Meru, then all other descriptions might not be also physical, Even though in Abhidhamma Kosha, in in the right, Vasubandhu's writing Amitabha Kosha, even though he described as though it's a little bit like a physical description, but then as His Holiness, again, if it is Mount Meru, then he argue, where is the shadow and all of the different analysis he does. So His Holiness says it might not be a physical as it is described there. And so if that is the case, is also, I don't know whether even also Pure Land, Amitabha Pure Lands, whether even though it describes about the direction, western part, in terms of direction, western part and all of that, but again, whether it's physical or is more, non-physical, I wonder, when we die, and due to our karma, then we experience such world, which is not physical. For the being in there, it feels like physical in the real world. From the outside world, they cannot see it. It's not physical. If we have to go in the rocket, to the materials Pure Land, in somehow we are able to go as that distant in the futures. I don't know whether you will see that, but when someone die and with that kind of practice, then they experience in being in that. For them, it feel like physical world, but it's not a physical. It's due to their karma. There is that appearance and that manifestation of that, and that is what they experience. But it's not such physical that where the other rest of the world or others can see it and touch. That is my take, but I'm not 100% sure. So that is. And then the other questions. After the four element dissolution, then the 80 gross mind, or conception dissolve. And having dissolved that, the 80 conceptions, the gross together, all the gross mind, all the other growth dissolve, then you have the white appearance. And the way they describe white appearance in your mind, you see it described like in autumn, In autumn, because summer rain had come and all the dust had been cleared, So there is more clarity, less pollutions, dust pollution, everything that is there. Because of the summer rain, it has all put it down, so there is more clarity. So it describes about in the autumn, um, and the full moon is there, and so with that kind of clear weather, with the full moon, then there is a whitish appearance of that. So it describes similar like that. That's what you see. Yeah. And then the red is like a little bit like sunset, in that similar, and, red appearance. And then is the dark appearance, And yeah, after dark appearance, it mentions, for few moments, it become almost like unconscious, fainted, and then regain the conscious, and then the clear light, appearance.
Sorry, Geshe, but what about the 88 like superstitions? How, like, roughly what dissolves at like the white appearance, red appearance, and dark appearance?
They dissolve even before, all of them before white appearance, because all of them are gross mind, and all the gross mind dissolve, because the white appearance, red appearance, and black appearance minds are subtle mind, and then of course clear light, more subtle mind. So in order to have access to the more subtle mind, the subtle mind need to dissolve. In order to access to the subtle mind, even the gross mind have. So the gross mind dissolve. But when the 80 gross mind are kind of, differentiated, then, seven mind is more related with the, from the 87 of them is more related with the dark, the dark appearance. And then I don't remember exact number, 47 and 30 something is the white and that. So even though they are related with each of those appearances, the similarity, but they all dissolve before the white appearance, because they're all a gross mind. And so their functionings and those mind has a little bit similarities. That is why they divide in that. But it is like they all dissolve. 80 consciousness already dissolved before the white appearances. Okay. Yes, the back.
Hi, actually, I have a question. I understand the fact that we have to practice so that at the time when I die, so I have to keep practicing mantra, just to make sure I focus. But for example, my husband is a Catholic; he's not Buddhist. I'm just have been trying to thinking what can be a do's and don'ts checklist I can give him to make sure he will not disturb me while I'm trying to practice my mantra. I don't know how to explain to him, because I'm not that knowledgeable to explain to someone they are not in my religion. So I have been having a hard time, but I do think I want to prepare it for him. So what would you recommend me to learn or to find this do's and don'ts checklist? Thank you.
I didn't. So if Oh, people then reciting that will disturb you or something?
No, for example, I try to recite the mantra myself in my mind,
Yeah.
but then the people next to me, like my husband or
Yeah.
my relatives, they are trying to like, Alan,
Uh,
yeah. So how can I make sure I won't be disturbed by teaching them upfront, like you should do that, you should not do that, but how to make it easier for them to understand?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I guess we have to learn to be able to practice even someone disturbing you, which is not easy. But of course, some practitioner would be able to do that, even when someone tries to disturb because of their mental ability, they can, but of course for most, it won't. I don't know, in the West, they have this wheel, writing the wheel, and in wheel, they describe how they want to be when they are dying, what they should do, what they shouldn't do. So if it's clearly described there, this is what I want, when I die, I don't want people to touch me or disturb me. I would like me to live quietly for whatever period or whatever, and I would like to have people, if you want someone to come for prayer or do that, to do that. And so I think if there is a kind of will or reading or share already before, probably they can understand, probably they will, even they don't believe the practice, but they will try to keep that for the others because they care, So I think that might be one way of doing it, So to let them know, let them know now or in writing or in orally or something, that one would like to have certain conditions and for them to support to create that condition and not to harm that conditions. That is, I think, all I can say. Yeah. Yes, please.
Hi.
Yeah.
May I know about, in your opinion about animals, like pets, they are not able to practice Dharma like us, they are not able to generate bodhicitta in mind. So how can we help them to prepare for death? And, as pets owner, obviously, I would like them to be born in as a better being, right? And also, does playing like mantra recitations actually help them? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Of course, yeah, the animals, is hard to teach them to meditate. Um, even recite the mantras. Even I saw one dog in Santa Fe a long time ago, or someone I knew. I don't know so well, but I have been to his house a couple of times. He has two dogs, and one of dog, he taught him Om Ahum, and the dog can say Om Ahum. Yeah. Each time he give him a treat, the other dog cannot say that. Two kind of. And then he also taught him Om Mani Padme Hum, but it was too long. He tried, and he tried to make sound, but he cannot. It's too much syllables. But Om Ahum was enough, short for one of the dogs to say Om Ahum. Quite funny. The first dog I've ever seen. So anyway, as you mentioned, definitely, that is one of the things that Lama Zopa Rinpoche advised all the time, that how we can help the animals, pet or other animals, physically and spiritually. Of course, physically, you feed them, you try to care of them, when they are sick, all of that. But spiritually, you try to, expose them around holy objects, okay? Circumlating around the holy objects. Or you have holy objects exposed where they see it, even though they don't understand it, but they can see it, and whether it's image, statues, stupas, where they can, where you can circumlate, where they can see it, and then reciting the mantras, You can recite mantra yourself, and then dedicate, and as well as, even when you are not there, there are many mantras that you can record it, you can play, where they can hear all the times. So yeah, while they are alive, you do, and at the time of death, you try to do similar like how we do the human beings, how we did, if you have a blessing string, you can put them blessing string. If you have a blessing pill, you can try to give the blessing pills with the waters, you can try to put some holy objects, stupa, statue on their head, just put that there, do the recitation, prayers, whatever, different prayer, different mantra, different prayers, you can try to do that. And also, even as animals, you try not to disturb them and leave them peaceful for a while, and so yeah, that is how we can, definitely the mantras definitely can help them, definitely, of course from their side, even animals sometimes they show, even they have the expression of compassion, even you can see some animals, sad, crying when they see another animals dying, trying to, so even they have certain expression of those feelings, maybe they might not have ability to meditate and develop higher level, but still they have that. And so those feelings such as that compassion can help them to have, for example, higher rebirth, better rebirth, or activate the positive karma and all of that. But also, being exposed to the holy objects, such as the statues, scriptures, stupas, and then mantras, prayers can also be helpful, beneficial. Yeah. And then the last questions, yeah.
Hi, good afternoon, Geshe. I have one question. Let's say for people who are dying of a natural process, it's not due to accident. So when the four elements, they are dissolving, so the level of pain that the dying person is going through during the process, does their past karma play a part? Some could be, this dissolving, they're peaceful, they pass away peacefully, they don't show great signs of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
But some, during the process, may take 4 or 5 days, like what you say, they could feel extreme pain.
Yes.
So does karma, what they've done previously, come to fruition that manifests at this point of time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure, the karmic potentials involved with any kind of pain and sufferings, but also sometimes external conditions as well. So it's a combination of previous karmic potentials as well as immediate conditions. In some cases, the immediate conditions, maybe there might be other way to reduce those pain. Sometimes there might not be, sometimes there might be some kind of way for the doctors or others to reduce the pain, the level of the pains, or certain level of pains, there is that part, and by that it can reduce the level of the pain to some level. In terms of the karmic involvement, for sure, there is a karmic involvement from the past. but also is not only karmic potentials. That is one thing I always says is sometimes we just think it's just the karma. It's not just the karma. Karma is the internal conditions, and then there are external conditions. When these two conditions come together, then it creates the result. But even you have the internal condition, if you don't create the external condition, then karmic condition cannot manifest. It's coming together, so we have to take care of both internal condition as well as external condition. And sometimes maybe we ignore the external conditions and only think of the karmic conditions. And sometimes, of course, in materialist world, then they only think of external condition. They don't think of internal conditions. From Buddhist understanding, it's both internal condition and external conditions. Internal condition are karmic conditions. And then there are other external conditions. When it comes together, then the results are produced. So thereby we have to take care of both internal condition as well as the external conditions. That is why we have to take care of, to be healthy, to live a more, to care of our body. You doesn't just say, oh, maybe if I have karma to be healthy, I will be healthy. If I have karma to be not healthy, I will die anyway. So, and then not taking care of yourself. Do you get it? That is another kind of, misconceptions sometimes we have. So it's two conditions, external, internal condition coming together, and we have to take care of both of them. Okay? Thank you. Dedications, yeah.
Okay, please turn to page 246. May all beings everywhere plagued by sufferings of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, with the mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drink. May the poor find wealth, and those with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests, and may all medicine be effective and wholesome prayer bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from their ailments, whatever diseases there are in the world. May they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be free. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Please refer to the insert. We are doing the prayer for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and then followed by the prayer for the swift return of Kapche Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in the world, may you have a long life, and may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Peerless teachers and assembly of the children of the victorious one, Shavakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang, father and son, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite length, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Buddhist precious and complete teachings. Through the explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels, and the great ways of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of our reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Request from the office is to leave the cushion and the seat. You just keep the tray and the prayer books. Thank you.